Councillor Bog. Thank you. We're back to open business and back to notices of motion, and Councillor Heaney to move.
Thank you, Mayor. Just take the motion as read. Ask for a seconder.
Any that? Councillor Duffy, thank you.
Okay. A number of months ago, a motion was passed by this council calling on the Irish government to establish a citizens' assembly in preparation for a potential referendum. Since then, we've seen a change in British government that has been implementing huge welfare cuts, has removed winter fuel payments for pensioners, and has been cutting international aid for some of the poorest nations in the world, all to increase spending on weapons and war. We've also had an ESRI report which shows that the South is much better off in almost every metric used to analyse quality of life, and in most cases the gaps are growing between North and South. Household disposable income in the South is 18.3% higher than the North. The South's income per head is 57% higher than the North, and hourly earnings are 36% higher. And I could go on. There's a lengthy list. Therefore, it doesn't matter which colour of British government is in power. British government policy is bad for this part of Ireland. So once again, we should write to the Irish government, calling on them to establish a citizens' assembly as part of our preparations towards Irish unity. I would ask members to support the motion. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Heaney. Members, anyone speaking on this issue? Councillor Mooney.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you to Councillor Heaney for bringing this motion. Like I may have spoken on the previous one that it was brought about this as well. I didn't move it, but I spoke on it, and a lot of the work is deriving from the working group as well that Councillor Heaney chairs, and a lot of good work has been on that there. But we supported the previous one, and obviously the examples given by Councillor Heaney show that obviously there's evidence there to suggest that we'd be better off within a reunified country. So on that basis, the SDLP will be supporting the motion today. Thank you to Councillor Heaney. Cheers.
Thank you, Councillor Mooney. Alderman Carrigan.
Thank Councillor Harkin was in front of me.
Oh, Councillor Harkin, you go first. Okay.
Thank you, Councillor Kerrigan. Yeah, I'm happy, or People Before Profit are happy to support the motion. The Irish government should hold a citizens' assembly to prepare the ground for an end to partition and a united Ireland. There should be a referendum to end partition as soon as possible. People across this island should have that right to determine our future. And while it's very clear that the British government are operating in a way just to facilitate billionaires, to facilitate arms manufacturers, and that's why we're seeing cuts to disability benefits, that's why we're seeing cuts to the winter fuel payments that will only heighten and deepen inequality here in the north of Ireland and in Britain. And that is the problem. It's not the case that the Irish government doesn't operate unlike them. Yes, it's true that income levels are higher for some workers in the south of Ireland, but so's rents. I mean, you can't buy a house in Dublin, you can barely rent a house. So the type of united Ireland that I want to see, and that I think that many people want to see, is not one that's governed by the likes of Fianna Fáil and Fianna Gael, who operate like Tories. It's very clear that the southern economy functions to facilitate as a tax haven for big corporations in the United States, which explains why they're so slow to take genuine action on behalf of the Palestinians. So I think we need a different kind of government. If there is a united Ireland, which I hope there is soon, I think we need a different kind of government that actually expands democracy and redistributes wealth to the many from the few north and south of this Ireland. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Harkin. Alderman Carrigan.
Thank you very much, Mayor, for allowing me in. And just to confirm, Mayor, the element there, which I see in regards to the motion there and condemning the Labour government. And I do note that Labour, since they've got in, have there's several issues there in regards to the kick given to the pensioners and the kick given to the agricultural sector as well from Labour and the changes they're given. So again, we can support that element of it, but in regards to the motion, Mayor, we will not be supportive of it. We're not in favour of unity in that regard. Just keep it simple and we will be opposing it. Thank you very much, Mayor, for that.
Thank you, Alderman Carrigan. Alderman Hussey.
Thank you, Mayor. And just on a similar base, understand completely the feelings behind the first paragraph. With regard to the second paragraph, my late grandfather had a very strong saying. He said, "Strong hedges make good neighbours." And I have absolutely no problem with mutual cooperation with the sovereign state on the other side of that hedge, and mutually the other way around. And in fact, organisations like the Northwest Regional Cross-Border Group doing good work on mutual cooperation, but that's as far as it goes with me. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Hussey. Okay, members, I feel different views, so can I ask for sum up and then we go to the vote?
Okay, thanks, Mayor, and thanks to everyone that's spoken in relation to their comments, particularly those obviously that are supporting the motion. It's disappointing, but not surprising that political unionism is not supportive of this. But I do know many ordinary unionists who are very keen to be involved in the discussion and would relish a chance to be part of a citizens' assembly that would contribute to what the future would look like. So, as I say, it's disappointing, but not surprising. But I'll leave it at that, Mayor. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Haley. Okay, John?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just checking, members, would it be the case that both DUP and Ulster Unionist Party are opposed to the motion and everyone else in the chamber is for? We're happy to record that as the outcome.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
And therefore it passes.
therefore the motion pass. Okay. Members, moving on to the next motion and is for Councillor McGinley to move.
Mayor, and I'll take the motion as read. If I can get a seconder.
Seconder? Thank you.
Okay.
Neelis.
I'm very happy to move this motion on behalf of Sinn Féin, which is an extremely important and highly significant matter to Irish citizens in this district and indeed across the 6 counties. Sinn Féin is urging all members of this council, regardless of their political perspectives, to support the motion which calls on the Irish government to fulfil their responsibility and finally extend the right to vote in Irish presidential elections to the hundreds of thousands of Irish citizens living here in the north. It's finally time for the Irish government to resolve the democratic deficit and to set the date for a referendum and allow Irish citizens to have their say in presidential elections. By speaking with one voice on this issue, our council can powerfully affirm the principles of parity of esteem, mutual respect and equality that are outlined within the Good Friday Agreement. Central to our peace agreement was the recognition of the birthright of every citizen in the north to identify as Irish or British or both, if they so choose, and to be accepted as such. The agreement included a key provision that the Irish government would amend Article 2 of the Irish Constitution, granting the right to full Irish citizenship. It is the duty of the Irish government, and it's established clearly under Article 2, which underpins the birthright of everyone born on the island of Ireland to be part of the Irish nation. Equally, the rights of those here in the north who are Irish to identify as Irish citizens is recognised within the Good Friday Agreement. Despite years of promises and commitments from successive Dublin governments, we're now sitting in 2025 with a presidential election on the horizon and we're still no further forward. Irish citizens in the north remain disenfranchised, not being able to vote to elect our head of state. Moreover, the office of Uachtar an Nahéireann is held in hugely high regard and respect throughout the world. Recent international developments have shown that the office of Irish President can have immense political, diplomatic and moral significance. In a world that has shamefully remained silent during the ongoing genocide in Gaza, the current Irish President has shown courageous leadership in his appeal to world leaders to break their silence and call for a permanent ceasefire in Gaza. Irish citizens living in the north of Ireland should have the right to a say in the future and role and the influence of the Irish presidency. Our rights as full Irish citizens are fully guaranteed under the Good Friday Agreement and in the Irish Constitution, but those rights are not being engaged. The unacceptable democratic deficit must end. The Irish Government must act now, and there is no excuse for any further delays. The rights of Irish citizens in the North to vote in the next presidential election must be progressed and delivered, and I sincerely hope that all members across this chamber can endorse this motion on the basis of mutual respect and parity of esteem for those of us who share Irish identity in the North of Ireland.
Thank you, Councillor McGinn. Members, anybody else who would like to speak on this issue? Councillor Riley?
Yeah, thanks, Mayor, and thanks, Councillor McGinley for tabling it here today for discussion. The SDLP are happy to support the motion. We do in the past have repeatedly said that citizens in the North are entitled to vote for the President of the island, and we recognise the office of Victor O'Hearn as one that that people who hold an Irish passport, who share the Irish citizenship, want to have the opportunity to vote for the occupant of Irish Neutron. We also know that in many other countries, the election of the president of that country it takes place with citizens from around the world being able to participate in that election. And indeed, in the 6 counties, you have people who queue up and vote for their president, who don't reside in the country where the president holds office. So it is an important aspect of the diaspora being able to choose the president of the nation that they hold the passport of. So, as in keeping with the past, the SDLP has supported this in previous occasions in this chamber, and happy to do so again today. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Riley. Councillor Harkin?
Thank you, Mayor, for letting me in, and I'm happy to support the proposal as well. I think that I believe in the extension and expansion of democracy, and I think giving Irish citizens in the North of Ireland the right to vote in this for the president would help to do that. Obviously the president of Ireland is for the most part a ceremonial role, but as we can see from the way that the dignified way that Michael Higgins has performed it, it's a very important role here in Ireland, but also globally. And he has stood in solidarity with the people of Palestine. He stood against attacks on migrants. He stood up for justice. He stood up for the dispossessed. And I see recently he was able to, he issued a statement in solidarity with the people of Liverpool, given the tragedy that unfolded there this week. So it is a very important role. And I think that we should allow Irish citizens, wherever they are, to have the right to vote in this election. I think that that would be a positive thing. Obviously, the last thing I would want to see would be somebody like Conor McGregor, who is promoting a brand of politics in this island and globally that is poisonous and rotten, backed by the far right and fascist organisations in this country. And I think we would want to make sure that every corner of this island was given the opportunity to make sure that he would not be able to be representative of the views of the people on this island and the people who are citizens of this island across the globe. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Harkin. Okay, members, Alderman Carrigan.
Thank you, Mayor. Just in regards to it there, we won't be supporting the motion in this regard. I see what Councillor McGinley has brought forward there, but whether it's a wee bit of trying to manoeuvre figures to try to increase the Sinn Féin vote in the potential presidential election in the South, but in that regard, I don't feel at this stage we can support it. I do know that there are many, particularly from our background, from the PUL community background, within sections of the Republic of Ireland who don't feel that there are candidates that they can vote for, and there's a lot of poor turnout and low electoral turnout in regards to the members of that community, and I don't feel at this stage we can support this motion. Thank you very much, Mayor.
Alderman Guy.
To be fair, as we'd recognise, this is not a new debate. The issue has come up in the Dáil several times over this past decade. There's even been draft legislation brought forward and a commitment to a referendum, but so far there has been no vote. Concerns have been raised by legislators and commentators in the Republic around the Constitution, how people would register, how to verify voters who are abroad, and what the political consequences would mean. Even in the Republic, the issue is far from settled. Some have also questioned whether it makes sense to expand the vote for a role that holds limited powers. If you're not expanding what the President could do, for instance, you have to ask what you really gain from expanding, who gets to choose them. It risks watering down the symbolism even further. Let us not pretend that expanding the electorate would not affect the kind of candidate who steps forward. If you broaden the vote, you could also see pressure to rethink how candidates are nominated. What sorts of, and as Councillor Harkin has stated, what sort of names do you want to end up on the ballot paper? Do Irish voters really want to see a certain disgraced sports star on the ballot paper? With all due respect, it's not a matter for us to decide. It's a matter for the voters in the Republic and their elected representatives. However, if they proceed with it, I suggest that they think even more broadly about including the wider Irish diaspora. There are more than 100,000 Irish-born citizens in Australia alone. If inclusion is the goal, let it include everyone, and let it be done through secure electronic voting without the need for polling stations. But for now, we'll watch with interest as the long-running saga continues. We will be abstaining from the vote, Mayor.
Thank you, Alderman Guy. Okay, members, I do not see anybody else. Councillor Tierney.
I wasn't going to speak. Councillor Riley has given our position, but I think given the last two comments, I feel compelled to express my disappointment at the response. I don't think the motion is asking people who identify as unionists to vote in an Irish presidential election. It's asking you to support us who identify as nationalists, as Irish nationalists, to be allowed to vote for the head of our state. It won't compel anyone who doesn't want to vote to vote. It will allow the rest of us who do want to vote, who do want to participate in choosing our head of state, to have that opportunity. Obviously, it would be great to see voting rights expanded to Irish people across the world. But we have to start somewhere. And starting, I believe, with the commitments that are already there, which Councillor McGinley has already referenced, is a good building block for the rest of us. So please, I would appeal to people who may not be interested in who the head of the Irish state is, or what they may do in their so-called ceremonial role. Please don't allow that to hinder the rest of us an opportunity to vote for the head of our state. Please don't allow disgraced sports stars potentially becoming on the ballot paper, or mediocre type candidates, if the vote is expanded, to prevent us from being allowed an opportunity to vote for the head of our state. Because that's exactly what you're doing by the way that you've just referenced Conor McGregor and the potential of the different types of candidates who may come forward. This isn't about the candidates who may come forward. This is about allowing Irish citizens in the North the opportunity to vote for their head of state. Let's not be covering up with in my opinion, low-level excuses to try and get away around voting against a very, very valid motion. And Councillor Riley has already done it, but I personally thank Councillor McGinley for bringing it forward, and I look forward to the opportunity to voting for this, and eventually, at some point in the future, voting for the head of the Irish state. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Tierney. Alderman Hussey.
Just a reflection on the last contribution. The desire is that Irish nationalists are allowed to vote. I think that's what was originally said, Irish nationalists. So it's nationalists and you're socialists, so it's to increase the national socialist vote. Interesting.
Thank you, Alderman Hussey. Okay, I do not see anybody else indicating to speak on this issue. Can I ask Councillor McGinley to sum up?
Mayor, and thank you to those members that spoke in support of the motion. First, to clarify, this motion is not about expanding the Sinn Féin vote in a presidential election at all. I think it's ridiculous that would even be suggested. This is about enfranchising people to use their democratic right as an Irish citizen to vote for their head of state. It's as simple as that. It's not smoke screens or anything like that. We are democratically should be allowed to vote for our head of state. This motion is going in some way to try and address that issue and ask the Irish government, as you have outlined, Alderman Guy, this long running saga. We're sitting years and years later waiting on this coming forward. We need to put pressure on the Irish government. It's not going to happen by accident, which is why I asked for it to come from across this chamber so that we could all speak with one voice in order to give people of Irish citizenship their right to vote for their head of state. It's as simple as that. So I do appreciate everybody that's spoken in favour.
Thank you. Okay, members, John for the vote.
Thank you. Alderman Cook,
Against.
Alderman Guy,
Abstain.
Alderman Hussey,
Against.
Alderman Carrigan,
He's gone out.
Alderman McMorris,
Against.
Alderman Middleton,
Against.
Alderman Montgomery,
Abstain.
Alderman Wilkinson.
Yes.
Alderman Wilkinson. 4, so. Okay. Alderman Wilkinson. Again. Councillor Jason Barr,
For.
Councillor Lillian Barr,
For.
Councillor Raymond Barr,
For.
Councillor Boggs, Councillor Boyle,
For.
Councillor Clark, Councillor Cusick,
For.
Councillor Devine,
Ta.
Councillor Donnelly, Councillor Alex Duffy, Councillor Sandra Duffy,
Ta.
Councillor Farrell, Councillor Fleming,
Ta.
Councillor Gallagher, Councillor Harkin, Councillor Hart,
Ta.
Councillor Heaney, Councillor Hutton,
Ta.
Councillor Jackson, Councillor Leonard, Councillor Logue,
Or.
Councillor McGinley,
Ta.
Councillor McHugh, Councillor Mooney, Councillor Murphy, Councillor O'Farrell, Councillor Riley, Councillor Tierney, Councillor Anelis.
Ta.
Thank you, members.
Apologies, John, I'm online. It's Caitlin. Ta.
Thank you. And Harry will have already taken the vote. So members, I've recorded 29 for, 5 against, 2 abstentions, so the proposal passes.
Okay. Thank you, members. Moving on, it's my own motion and I submitted an alteration. Teresa? Hope members are content with the alteration. Okay, so can I ask for a seconder, please? Thank you, Alderman Guy. So members, as you all know, our Guildhall, our space was an initiative I was asked to lead by the young people of our city and district during my term as mayor. It was inspired by 300 young people who responded to a survey sharing their ideas and aspirations. Their strong engagement, both in shaping the concept and through their enthusiastic attendance at the events, clearly demonstrated the demand for a space like this. Most importantly, this initiative wasn't designed for young people. It was created with them, born directly from their voices and vision. And given its success and the overwhelmingly positive response it has received across the community, I felt it was important to bring this motion forward. And I am seeking for your endorsement to consider embedding this initiative within future mayors' annual programs with the support of the corporate body of this council, so we can continue to build on its impact and ensure our young people remain at the heart of civic life. Over the past year, I've had the privilege and pleasure of engaging with around 1,200 young people through 6 our Guildhall, Our Space events. These events have not only filled the Guildhall with energy and creativity, but have promoted mental health, leadership, and civic pride. The feedback from young people, parents, and community group has been overwhelmingly positive, reflecting the genuine impact this initiative has had across our district. And I will encourage all members to look at the feedback because our council officers have them. And what makes it truly special is that it's not a top-down initiative. It's grassroots, community-led, and deeply rooted in the real needs and aspiration of our young people. Our council has always prided itself on being inclusive. We are on a pathway to becoming a UNICEF child-friendly city, and supporting this motion is a clear, tangible step in that direction. By centering the Guildhall as a safe civic space for young people, we are endorsing their presence in the heart of our city and ensuring they feel welcome and valued. This motion proposes 3 practical and collaborative steps: embedding our Guildhall, Our Space in future mayor's program, co-designing and delivering events in partnership with the Office of the Mayor, supporting the incoming mayor in securing external funding and sponsorship. And let me be very clear, I fully understand the financial constraints of the mayor's budget and the vital importance of allowing each incoming mayor the freedom to pursue their own priorities and initiatives. This motion does not seek to limit that autonomy or dictate the direction of any mayor's term. Rather, it's about unlocking the support of the corporate council to help identify and secure the external resources needed to sustain and grow this valuable initiative without placing additional financial or logistical pressures on the incoming mayor. Securing sponsorship for this year's program was not easy. It required significant time, energy, and outreach, something not every mayor may have the time to take on given the demands of the role. To put it into context, the total cost of delivering 6 youth events comes to £23,095. Of this, 15,340 was generously covered through external sponsorship, while 7,755 was allocated from the mayor's budget. That's why institutional support is so important. I want to take this opportunity to sincerely thank the generous sponsors and partners whose unwavering support made this year's event possible. And I'm going to list them. Bishop Donald McKeown, through the Diocese of Derry, donated £2,500. The Western Health and Social Care Trust donated £5,000. The Honourable Irish Society donated £2,500. The City Hotel provided sponsorship through accommodation for artists of £340, and Translink donated £3,000. And Abattoirs Catering generously provided in-kind sponsorship by covering catering services valued at £2,500. Their contributions were not just financial, they were a vote of confidence in our young people and in the potential of this initiative to continue making a lasting impact. I also want to sincerely thank every parent, every youth group, and most importantly, every young person who participated. This was a collective effort, and I couldn't have delivered it alone, and our office in the mayor's office could not have done it by themselves. And a special thanks to the Children and Young People's Department and the Community Development team within our council who supported this initiative. Supporting this motion sends a clear message that this council values our young people's voices and is committed to fostering their leadership. And I urge all of you councillors and aldermen to endorse this proposal, not just for continuity, but for collaboration. And let's build on the foundation we've laid together to continue supporting our young people's vision in our city and district. And I open the floor for conversation. Thank you, Alderman Middleton.
Thank you, Mayor, for letting me in, and thank you for the work that you have done this year to bring young people into the Guildhall, increasing inclusivity and engaging with our precious young people district-wide. Our district is filled with the most amazing young people who are our future workers, our future leaders, and they should absolutely be recognised as citizens now. And therefore, it's really important that we bring them into buildings like the Guildhall and that they get the opportunity to engage with us. It has been so good to see this year filled with a focus on young people accessing our Guildhall, and long may that continue. The work done this year builds on our city and district's strong and successful focus on young people that has been in place for many, many years. Some examples of this include organisations such as Reach Across, led by the wonderful Barney McGuigan, the staff and volunteers who are celebrating their 30th anniversary this year. 30 years of youth-led democracy studies, cross-community work and fun. We also have the likes of the Ena Youth Forum leading the way in youth-led civic leadership and local problem solving. The Bud Club focusing on inclusivity and positive opportunities for their members, and the wonderful Solace Highland Dancers, young people leading the way in Ulster Scots heritage and dance. These are just a few examples of our thriving youth groups and community initiatives district-wide. The DUP believe that working with and engaging with young people should be ingrained in our everyday civic life for each and every one of us. We also recognise that such initiatives can help us move towards our UNICEF child-friendly district recognition. We will be supporting the motion today, but we would ask that consideration be taken for rural young people who cannot access public transport, those whose parents perhaps don't have their own transport or may not be able to afford to transport them to the likes of the Guildhall building, and young people who are harder to reach. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Middleton. Councillor Jackson.
I'm Grandma Mayor, and I'm going to start off by saying I want to congratulate yourself for the work that went on to not only securing the funding but organising and designing these events. It is a fantastic initiative to bring young people into this and the Guildhall. We want to open up our civic buildings and make them accessible to our young people. And it is any engagement where you see young people coming into this building and feeling at ease and comfortable, it's really encouraging. But I have to say, Mayor, we're extremely disappointed to see the motion in front of us today. As you all know, Mayor, this is your final meeting as Mayor, a meeting where we could reflect on what was largely a successful year. There's been many achievements that yourself there's many achievements, personal achievements of yourself throughout the year, and we congratulate you on those. And the event that you organised as part of this was widely accepted as a huge success. But there's been hugely successful events through the terms of previous mayors. No previous mayor has brought motions and the council congratulating themselves and asking and almost trying to shape the term of a future mayor. And on that note, it is extremely unfortunate or disappointing to see this motion in front of us today. There's and I'm conscious the previous mayor hasn't imposed any events on yourself, and you were given free rein. They take a decision, any decisions around which events that you would prioritise. This, whilst it's a very successful event, and I have no doubt would be considered by any future mayor to follow on that. It sets a very dangerous precedent. If every mayor had felt an obligation to put their stamp on the office by creating a lasting legacy where their event becomes transfixed on the mayoral calendar throughout the year. In 7 or 8 years' time, there could be, the mayor's calendar could be filled before the mayor even takes office. This is, there could have been other ways that could have been explored. They have this event secured through simple discussions with incoming mayors, working through the mayor's office, rather than making a public motion congratulating the current mayor on an event. So it's really disappointing, and Mayor, I genuinely mean this. It saddens me to say that we will be voting against the motion in front of us today. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Gallo, Councillor Jackson, Councillor Houghton.
Thank you, Mayor. And just to reiterate what Christopher had been saying, it was an excellent initiative. And I do understand the sentiment that you have to continue it, because it is our job as well to ensure that there is provision across this district for young people to thrive, they promote positive well-being, and they ensure that their development socially is adhered to as well. But I don't think that council should be creating a new youth service to go in competition with the services that are already out there. So council should be here to support, to strengthen and to add value to all the brilliant services and interventions that exist across this district already. Because as we've discussed in this chamber today, and it has been a discussion these past few weeks, funding is tight. And when funding's tight, collaboration is key. So I think that we should be collaborating more in relation to youth provision rather than duplicating. And like our aim should be to uplift existing services, not to replace them or replicate them, Mayor. So we believe that the best outcomes for young people come from working together. So working in silo, I don't think is a good way to work when it comes to providing that youth intervention. We need to be working in collaboration with everybody in order to address the many needs that exist in our communities in relation to our young people and children and families. So I think that the focus should be on complementing what already exists and not creating more competition, which will stretch resources. We know funding is tight across all areas of the community and voluntary sector. And as you quoted earlier, Mayor, we thrive when we work together. So just acknowledging those fundraising efforts, it's an excellent amount of money. I know what it's like to fundraise and to put that effort and resource behind that. You're to be commended. But I do feel that this needs to be a collaborative piece, and it needs to strengthen existing services and bring people along with us rather than standing in a silo, creating another youth intervention which may pull resource from ones that are already existing, ones that are thriving, and ones that are making a difference. I am a member of the political champions for the UNICEF. We have the recognition badge panel coming on the 19th of June. So I fully support our party fully support any interventions that exist to empower and uplift our young people. But unfortunately, we feel that collaborating more and not creating new services would benefit the youth in our district far better. So, thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Houghton. Councillor Anulis.
Garmagat, and Mayor, just as Councillor Hutton has just said, in the past few years we've seen sustained cuts and lack of investment into the adequate youth services across the district. In our own DA, Mayor, the summer intervention funding, which directly targets those at risk of engaging in antisocial behaviour, has been cut. So the Glen, Pennyburn and Rosemount Youth Club received that bad news in the past couple of weeks. So that's 3 youth clubs that collectively have a membership of nearly 1,000 children who are open 4 nights a week and 4 nights every week and over the weekends. We've already seen the effects of these cuts, with bus services being cut to areas and an increase in antisocial behaviour. And I have no doubt that this pain has been felt in every part of our district, in every DA. I was just on there looking at a post that the Glen Youth Club put up last week. They're looking for people to donate prizes to tombolas. They're looking for people to donate skills, to donate food for their summer schemes. And that is just, that's the stage that they're at. So, you know, as a party, we believe that any youth funding that comes into the district should be going to the frontline youth workers who've worked hard to obtain the skills and expertise to support and engage meaningfully with our young people. Our local youth clubs know and understand our young people, and we should be concentrating on supporting them. Gurmagad.
Thank you, Councillor O'Neill. Councillor Gallagher.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor, I think like this is a excellent project. I think I myself and another role I have, I work with youth that I would say that they're not connected. Is a polite term. They're very hard to reach youth. Find themselves in trouble on many occasions, but I do make it my business to bring them down here and bring them in here. And it does give them an insight that they don't know, don't want to know, don't get, and don't feel that they're a part of society because they feel a rejection from society. And I think that this type of initiative goes some way to alleviating a lot of that amongst our youth. And it was called a foreign territory for them. So I think it's a very positive initiative. Mayor, and some people have mentioned, you know, cuts, and cuts are happening. But I think mayors, and quite a number of mayors in previous years, the 10 or 11 years I've been here, mayors have a way of talking to people, organizations, groups, business people, that they can have a way of weaving money out of them that maybe others can't. And some mayors have been more successful than others. And we also had a mayor here, Mayor Graham Work, who did bring a proposal, and it was a fantastic event. It was the first of its kind, came here, filled the square with cars that people only seen in the movies, and they could actually look, see, touch, feel, and got a sense of pride from that. And following that, he brought a proposal that this should be an annual event. And since then, that event has raised thousands of pounds for charities. We could have dismissed that and off it went, but we didn't. This council adopted that says we will have this every year as part of the mayor's duties, and it continues to raise thousands of pounds. And hopefully this project of its past can go some way to addressing our youth and allowing accessibility to see how political life operates, because it's foreign, and it is also there. When people hear about politics and hear this stuff that goes on in this chamber and fighting and all arguing, and we've seen it today, but they get a negative image of politics. It might bring positive image to young people. So I'll be happy to support this.
Thank you, Councillor Gallagher. I have Councillor Barr online.
Thank you, Mayor. And I'll be going along the line with two previous speakers before Councillor Gallagher. I don't think it's the right thing for one mayor to put an initiative onto another mayor going forward. Yes, I do agree that you did have a successful initiative with this, but I do feel it would just put too much pressure on the incoming mayor, whoever that may be, to put this within their already busy calendar ahead. Also, as you said yourself in your opening remarks on this motion, that it did take quite a lot of work to get £23,500 funding. I think that's what you said. And for me, to put that pressure on the next mayor, and also it doesn't, like, there's no scope then for it to go to Strabane under that current 23,500. So they're going to have to do more work to get more money embedded in to maybe bring this to the Alley Theatre St. Pat's Hall, wherever it may be. So I just don't think that I can see myself supporting this today on this occasion, Mayor. But again, it was a great initiative that worked in your year, so congratulations on that.
Thank you, Councillor Barr. Councillor Harkin.
Thank you, Mayor, for letting me in. And yeah, just in response to Councillor Neelis, in terms of cuts that are targeted to youth services and community organisations, I mean, it's a disgrace, and we should be passing a motion at this meeting today talking about resisting that. If they're being put through by Stormont, we should be demanding that they're reversing them cuts. We should be going on the streets in defence of youth organisations, in defence of supports for young people. And so we need to do that. And shame on the government that is actually ramming through them cuts. And the way that I look at the initiative that the Mayor took is that we often talk, and it's clear that we don't have enough engagement with young people. I think we need a lot more of it. And I think that my experience has been that every time we have engagement with young people through the council, it's beneficial to us as well, because we actually hear directly from young people. And as Councillor Gallagher said, it does break down barriers. A lot of people are nervous coming to council buildings, coming to the Guildhall, coming to, I would imagine the Strabane council buildings as well. And we want to break that down, and we want to open up this space and make people feel like this is actually theirs. The Guildhall should be the people's Guildhall. It should be a space where young people feel very comfortable in using. And I think that, I'm a UNICEF political champion as well, but I think we all are across the district or across the chamber. And I think that the process of applying for this makes it clear that we need to do a lot more work. And this has been one of the events, I think, this year, one of the programs that has actually been good, been part of that attempt to do more in terms of reaching out to young people, to think about how to have young people, child's rights on our minds around everything that we're doing. So I think it's been a good initiative. I understand and I get that a new mayor will want to shape what they do over the year, right? And that this could be seen as a limiting factor to that. I understand that. But I would just say that the next mayor, if we agree to this, should just make this their own. Because the thing about these types of initiatives, I mean, the tea dances, my understanding is that was put through by a mayor, but it happens every year and nobody knows who initiated it. And it's a great thing that we do. The supercar rally, obviously, former Mayor Graham Work initiated that. But again, the vast majority of people will just see a super rally that's engaging, that raises a lot of money. And I think that it'll be true with this as well. That it'll be, the issue is not about the legacy. It seems to me it's a good engagement that the council's been doing, and a positive one. So the next mayor can shape this and also initiate other things that they see fit. Somebody agreed to the funding for the Rainbow Project, the Rainbow Crossing, but that becomes the Rainbow Crossing. And it has to be painted on a regular basis to make sure we keep it up. So for all them reasons, notwithstanding the concerns that some members have raised, I'm happy to support this today.
Thank you, Councillor Harkin. Alderman Guy.
Thank you, Mayor. Happy to support the proposal by yourself. We believe that you've done a fantastic job in organising this youth event. I've listened to the concerns of all our elected reps, and I have made relevant points, but I do believe that this council needs an event to entice youth in the Guildhall, and I agree totally what Councillor Gallagher has said earlier. Also understand that all our future mayors may want to do things themselves. It's their decision, as you well know. It's a great honour. But I think that something like that, as we say, we're talking about tea dances there as well. Tea dances were basically getting, the numbers were going down on them because they were happening once a month. This year, they happened every quarter, and it filled the room again when everybody did come back, and everybody agreed that it was basically a better way to work it. rather than just the same old thing every month. No, and people weren't going to it. Listen, it doesn't have to be a monthly event. It doesn't have to be a quarterly event. It could happen twice. It could happen once a year. But I think it's something that needs to happen for the youth. We were saying there about working recognition for the UNICEF Child Friendly City, and events in the Guildhall can only help our chance of gaining that recognition. But I think as well, there is a disconnect there between the youth and elected members. And I think that it's important that we show that we can reach out to them and support them whenever the need's there. So happy to support this, Mayor.
Thank you, Alderman Guy. Councillor Riley.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor, for bringing me in, and thanks for coming up with the initiative in the first place in terms of the opening paragraph talks about how successful it's been in terms of our Guildhall airspace. And as the conversation has gone on this afternoon in relation to this motion, you know, we're talking about different mayors having done different things over the years. It cast my own mind back to when I was fortunate enough to be first citizen, and that was the week that this building reopened after having been closed for a significant number of years for restoration works, which was funded not only by our council but by a range of other public bodies, including the European Union. And that just reminds me that at that time, when I was speaking at the AGM, when I was taking on the change of office in this chamber, it was the importance of opening up the building to every citizen of the council area. And as your motion references in relation to tea dances being an annual fixture for older people, there is a gap in terms of what the council does with this building to encourage people into it from a younger generation. We've sat in this chamber in the past and had to deal with the outworkings of damage to the building by people playing football outside, not malicious damage, just accidental damage, you know, that has happened. Often when we leave this chamber and we're going home after our work is done, we see young people out on skateboards. We see young people sitting on the steps, enjoying the fountains when the weather allows it. But they don't think of coming into the building. They don't see it as their space. They don't see it as a building that they can come into. Today, when we were in for today's meeting, we had lots of tourists in the building who are great to see visitor numbers in this building, but we don't see enough young people from our city taking the opportunity to come in and see the Guildhall as their building, as their civic space. And so that's why I think that the initiative has been so useful. And I'm conscious, Mayor, that the wording that's on the screen is different than what was circulated in the pack. And I know that a lot of work has gone on to try and to reflect the language and reflect the reasons why, as you said at the start, that you felt it needed amended from what had been tabled. And I think for me, the key line in the motion now on the screen is the one in the middle, where it says council will work with the incoming mayor to consider. So this isn't putting any onus on the incoming mayor. It's asking that the incoming mayor consider working with council officers to how can we ensure that the young people that have been involved in coming into our building, that we can build on that and deliver more improvements. And absolutely, as other councillors have said, there are cuts to services in various different parts of our DEAs that are having an impact. This is a civic space. It belongs to single citizen, young and old, and there is, as I said earlier, a gap in terms of what and how we bring young people into the building, and that's why we think in the SDLP that the incoming mayor should consider the continuation of the Our Guildhall Airspace programme, and that's what the motion on the screen asks us to do. So the SDLP are happy to support it, and we'll see how it goes. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Riley. Alderman Jose.
Thank you, Mayor. I've heard some of the reservations that have been expressed, but firstly, can I say, congratulations on the programme itself as it developed during your term. Absolutely first class and very, very welcome. My concern is concentration on the Guildhall, as folk will understand. And we know, for example, from Democracy Week, the difficulty of getting our wider rural population to engage in those types of council events. But I do notice that the element is in there now of co-design, deliver, dedicate our Guildhall, our space. So I would trust that as we move forward, the co-designing element will broaden out where the engagement with our young people can actually happen. You know, the difficulty of young folk getting down here does cause me concern, but I would hope that that co-designing an incoming new mayor will of course need to shape this to their agenda as they go forward with the other things. You know, I trust that we're not predetermining the mayor's agenda going forward. And that is something that I would not want to see, because every mayor will bring their own mark to the office, and that's to be welcomed as we go forward. But given the slight changes that have been made in the original motion that came to us at this moment in time, I'm content. But as I said earlier in today's meeting on another subject, actions rather than words. Let's see how this can be developed for all of the young people across all of our district. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Alderman Hussein. Members, I don't see anyone else wanting to come. You want to speak?
No, Mayor, with your indulgence, I just wanted to speak very briefly and say that whilst I really understand the sentiments behind your motion and understand the events that you have held and how really important that they were and how successful they were, and I have seen the photographs of the events, I've talked to young people who have attended them, and they were massively successful, and I don't want to take that away from you. But what I would say is, as a mayor who has previously been sitting where you are, one of the highlights of my mayoral year was engaging with young people, and it was going out to schools and meeting young people, having those groups coming in. But I was able to do that in the way that I chose, the way that as a mayor that I decided was the best way forward and how to engage with those young people. And I brought in the youth services, and I brought in other agencies who were working with young people, because I believed that that was the best way to engage with young people, to engage with the professionals who are qualified to do that. And I believe that that should be afforded to every mayor coming in, that they can use their own initiative, they can create their own initiatives, and they can engage with young people right across the city and district in the way that they choose is best. And I do think it's really important that we engage with young people, because they are the future of our city and district, and it's really important that they understand what we do, but it should be afforded to the incoming mayor as to how that happens. And Mayor, that's why I'm really disappointed that this motion's before us today.
Thank you, Councillor Duffy. Alderman McMorris.
Mayor, thank you for letting me in. I know Julie's already spoken the issue, but I just feel as if I want to say, first of all, I don't believe that this is trying to replicate services that's out there. I think this is an event. I think it is an event that gives a powerful voice to our young people. I took part in a panel in the Guildhall in regards to an event where young people came along, and to say the questions and their comments, and these guys know their own rights, they know their own voices, and I think it is instrumental that we do hear their voices, because these people can lobby and they can create a voice that sometimes is not heard by ourselves, you know, and I think it is instrumental that we hear their voices. I do agree with the last sentiment that it shouldn't be enforced on a mayor, and I don't think that's what you're intending to do. And I think Martin's right when he says, it should be a consideration. But I think we need to learn from our successes within council. So if something works, then we need to build on it. We just don't say, well, it wasn't my idea, so therefore we don't want to do that going forward. Because I think if something works and it's done well, Do you know what I mean? I think we should be learning from that, expanding on that. And I also want to just say in regards to the UNICEF child rights, you know, we're going forward, as when we say it, you know, on the 19th of June, you know, how amazing would it be that the last motion that goes through this term is something that it stabilises the rights of our young people within our civic building here. And I just think that that's important. I'm not saying that the budget needs to be ate up, do you know what I mean, and for another mayor's term. But certainly, I mean, if you can raise £23,500 sponsorship, then, you know, if we can build on that and other investors and other sponsors can see the success of it, then this is something that we could probably achieve with absolutely no investment from our ratepayers or anything else. And I just feel as if like we should give it a chance, an opportunity. We need to hear the voices of these young ones. We need to hear what it is that they have to say. And we can't hear that if they're not sitting within our own chambers here. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman McMorris. Members, I want to respond to a few points that has been made, and I am equally disappointed by the response from Sinn Féin on this because I worked really hard to make sure that it is inclusive, it is collaborative, and centering the voices of young people in this work. You have all agreed that it has been very successful, that it is important, that it is centering the voices. It's bringing our young people to the Guildhall, giving them that voice, but also showing that they can be leaders. And then we say we cannot support it. The other points that have been raised on transport, actually, I'm really glad that you've raised this point because one of the main issues that we made sure was to provide transport to every young child who was not able to access here. So transport was built into it and many took advantage of it, and that's why it was very successful. We've talked about mayor's legacies. If I'm honest, this is not about legacy. As many of you, I am a youth worker. And as a youth worker, I give the young people that opportunity to lead and voluntarily give them their voice. And I'm sure all of you are working with young people and you do the same. 300 young people asked to access the Guildhall. It wasn't something that was shaped for them. They shaped it themselves. And the response for it is clear to see that they wanted to use the Guildhall. Now, you're very right, Alderman Jose. Some of them may not come because it felt like it was far. Like the tea dances, it is possible to have it in Strabane. It is possible to have it in Aliteta or Claudia, wherever that can be, our young people can be reached. That's why transport was available for those who can come. But if they're not, it is possible to go to another area. On collaborative piece and the cuts of funding, that's why actually we should consider ensuring that it is sustained. Because if community organizations are not able to attract the funding, the mayor, while it is a ceremonial position, has influence. To influence businesses, I've proven that. To influence other institutions, to be able to support that initiative. Because the mayor's office has that power to engage with others. We have seen it in terms of fundraising for other charities here, the role that every single mayor has made in ensuring that there's an extended support for our communities when they are losing the vital funds that they need. They may still not get that funding. We still continue fighting for it. But this initiative may help in bridging that gap before they get that funding that they are looking for it. And while we talked about looking for collaboration, there's no institution that can lead better in collaborative initiative or facilitating that collaboration than this council. it is a critical institution that can bring all those organizations together. That's why this initiative was successful, because we brought youth groups together, we brought churches together, we brought businesses together. That's why it was successful. We brought the Western Trust together to come here and support that initiative. That's because of the work that we did collaboratively with the Department of the Communities Department within our council and reaching out to everybody. So disappointing, but we'll move forward and see how it goes. So I'm going to now call for a vote.
Thank you, Mayor. Alderman Cook,
Or.
Alderman Guy, Alderman Hussey, Alderman Carrigan, Alderman McMorris, Alderman Middleton,
Or.
Alderman Montgomery,
Or.
Alderman Wilkinson,
Or.
Councillor Jason Barr,
Against.
Councillor Lillian Barr,
For.
Councillor Raymond Barr,
Against.
Councillor Boggs,
Neil.
Councillor Boyle,
And thank you, Mayor.
Councillor Clark, Councillor Cusick, Councillor Deeney,
Neil.
Councillor Devine,
Neil.
Councillor Donnelly, no. Councillor Alex Duffy,
Neil.
Councillor Sandra Duffy,
Neil.
Councillor Farrell,
Or.
Councillor Fleming,
Neil.
Councillor Gallagher, Councillor Harkin, Councillor Hart,
Neil.
Councillor Heaney, Councillor Hutton,
Neil.
Councillor Jackson,
Neil.
Councillor Leonard,
Neil.
Councillor Logue,
Against.
Councillor Councillor McDade's not here, Councillor McGinley,
Neil.
Councillor McHugh,
Neil.
Councillor Mooney, Councillor Murphy,
Neil.
Councillor Norris, his apologies, Councillor Farrell,
Neil.
Councillor Riley,
Or.
Councillor Tierney, Councillor Neelis.
Neil.
Thank you, members. Members, I've recorded 16 for, 19 against, so the proposal does not pass.
Okay. Thank you, members. Moving on to the next motion, Councillor Harkin to move.
Thank you, Mayor. I sent an amended version of the motion out to members this morning. And if it's okay, if the amendments are okay with members, I'd like to move that version of the proposal forward.
Mayor, I'm happy to second the motion and the amendment.
Thank you, Councillor Duffy. Can I take, the motion is read. Thank you again. We've just had a discussion about young people, and I think it's very important that we centre the needs of young people and the views of young people. And when the leaders of Ulster University, Queen's University and the Open University and others announced that they wanted the Stormont executive to increase tuition fees for students, I think it sent, it was alarming for students right across the north. And the reasons for that is because increased tuition fees can be a turn-off for young people who want to go to university. We know that from the research that 1 in 5 students are already accessing food banks, which is not a great statistic to have. Students shouldn't be going to food banks at all, but that's the reality for students right now here in the north of Ireland. So I think that putting up fees on students would be completely unfair. So I want to commend the student union, NUS, the National Union of Students, NUS, USA, for leading the campaign, calling on the economy minister, calling on Stormont, not to do as university leaders were asking them to do, an increase in student fees. And it's good to see that the economy minister has listened to students, has listened to the student union, has listened to that campaign, and has said that on her watch, university fees, tuition fees aren't going to go up right now for students. So that is very welcome, and it does show you the importance of campaigning. I will say it's disappointing that university leaders have decided to focus on trying to raise tuition fees. It is true that universities need a lot more funding, but I think trying to put the burden of that on all students who are already stretched financially is just the wrong way to do it. It might have seemed like the easier way to do it, but it's the wrong way to do it, and I'm glad that that is not an option right now. So, look, Mayor, I've added into the amended motion that we should write to the British government calling for increased funding for our universities here in the north. We want universities to thrive because we want to invest in young people, because we want young people to thrive. We want McGee to thrive, and we want people to have the best possible educational opportunities right across the north. So I think we should demand that the British government invest more money. I think that the direction of travel of, more charges on students and an industry being created out of student fees is just wrong. There's better ways to increase funding for universities, and I think that goes to what the government can do to move that forward. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Harkin. Councillor Duffy.
Mayor, and thank you to Councillor Harkin for bringing forward the motion. As a council, we have spoken many times about the financial difficulties that are facing many students, and we know and understand those hardships and how they are affecting some of our students. We know that many are struggling to make ends meet, to pay rent, to buy food, to pay travel expenses, and not to mention those with care and responsibilities and who are working around the clock to study and earn money. The last thing that any of these students need is the additional burden and worry of increased student fees and debt. We have heard the local universities state that the current level of fees is causing financial difficulties for them, and if they stayed at the current level, they would have to make difficult decisions regarding local student numbers. This was a really worrying development to those of us here who are hoping to continue their studies here, and for us who want more young people to choose local universities and to stay and grow our local economy. The Economy Minister, Keith Archibald, has also recognised this, and she has just last week rolled out raising tuition fees and has instead written to the Executive asking that higher education is prioritised in the June monitoring round. Dr Archibald stated that she is committed to supporting our higher education institutions as they continue to play a critical role in producing world-class talent, as well as providing research and development support to our growing sectors. She was really clear that the current funding model does not work for students or the universities, and she has asked that her executive colleagues support her call by providing the necessary resources in the June monitoring round. We all acknowledge that our students are our future and we need them to be supported to thrive whilst at university. As a society, investing in our students means investing in our future. Every doctor, teacher, engineer and entrepreneur we help today will help shape the world we live in tomorrow. So let us continue to advocate for stronger supports, for bursaries that are fit for purpose and student finance packages that don't saddle our students with crippling debt, because no student should have to choose between their education and their well-being. Gurmugad.
Councillor Alderman McMorris.
Thanks, Mayor, for letting me in. And I just want to recognise the fact that the Economy Minister has come out and froze fees, certainly for this year. And I know it is her responsibility in order to bring forward solutions. And also, she's committed to doing a review of higher education. We welcome that review, and we welcome the fact that hopefully we will get more funding in place for higher education, so it does alleviate some of the burdens that our students have in regards to rental and just cost of living, tuition fees. But I can't say that I agree with the abolishment of tuition fees. not without knowing where the funding is going to come from in order to do that. We have a plethora of people out there who can well afford tuition fees, and I think that they should still be contributing. However, you know, I do believe that we should be easing the financial burden to students who are in disadvantaged areas and might not have the resources to be able to access higher education. So I think it is important that the Economy Minister balances all of those things, and based on that and the fact that it's calling for abolishment, we can't support the motion today, but we support the sentiment of, you know, relieving poverty for students and denying them access to higher education based on financial. But as I say, there is a review happening, and hopefully the Economy Minister will come back and bring forward some strategies in order to put more investment into that, and hopefully that'll go out to the people that is disadvantaged and can't access higher education. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman McMorris. Councillor Farrell.
Thank you, Mayor, and thanks to Councillor Harkin for making the proposal. On behalf of the SDLP, we do not support any increase on student tuition fees. We want to see a fair funding settlement for universities. Universities need a sustainable funding model because they're the cornerstone of our economy, and failure to invest in universities is going to lead to an exodus of students, a continued brain drain, major skill gaps, and long-term economic harm. And it should be noted at today's Economy Committee, departmental officials were presenting on the final budget allocations, and they were unable to provide a clear breakdown of how universities will be funded this year in 2025. That's deeply worrying. It's deeply frustrating. So Alderman McMorris had spoken about the need for the review. You know, that review needs to be comprehensive. It needs to be urgent because universities and further education institutions need funding certainty, and without that, there's going to be a really, really detrimental impact on students, a really detrimental impact on the wider economy. So we support the motion.
Members, I do not see anyone else indicating to speak on this issue, so I will invite you to conclude.
Thank you, everybody, for their comments in support of the motion, and we can move forward, Mayor.
Okay, members, I think we will go for a vote. Yeah.
Alderman Cook,
Against.
Alderman Guy,
Abstain.
Alderman Hussey,
Abstain.
Alderman Carrigan,
Against, John?
Alderman McMorris,
Against.
Alderman Middleton,
Against.
Alderman Montgomery,
Stay.
Alderman Wilkinson,
Against, John.
Councillor Jason Barr,
For.
Councillor Lillian Barr,
For.
Councillor Raymond Barr,
For.
Councillor Boggs, Councillor Boyle,
Or
Councillor Clark, Councillor Deany,
Ta.
Councillor Devine,
Ta.
Councillor Alex Duffy, Councillor Sandra Duffy,
Ta.
Councillor Farrell, Councillor Fleming, Councillor Gallagher, Councillor Harkin. Just checking, Councillor Hart.
Ta, and on the previous vote, I don't know if you heard me, but I voted nil, just so I know it's irrelevant now, but just to have it noted. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, and apologies if I didn't hear you. Councillor Heaney, Councillor Hutton, Councillor Jackson, Councillor Leonard, Councillor Logue, Councillor McGinley, Councillor McHugh, Councillor Mooney, Councillor Murphy, Councillor Farrell, Councillor Riley, Councillor Tierney, Councillor Nevis. Thank you, members. Mayor, I've recorded 28 for, 5 against, 3 abstentions, so the proposal passes.
Okay. Thank you, members. So the next items are for information, but I'll look for us proposer and seconder for item 13. Thank you. Thank you. Any other comments? No? Okay, so I call this meeting concluded. Yeah, yeah. Did you want anything else?
The item 14 was for decision.
Oh, members, before that, just one, okay, just one more point. Item 14 was for decision. Could we get a proposer and a seconder for that? If no one has any issues to raise. Consultation response. Anybody happy to propose? Okay, second? Thank you. Okay, members, the meeting is adjourned.